Okay, I think we are admitting participants. So I guess many more are coming. I see 20 now. Still coming in, so we wait a little bit.
Just checking in to make sure everything's going okay. Looks like everybody's joined who I was expecting, so.
Yeah. All right. I think we might as well start. Good day, everybody. I'm Robert. Actually, in Hong Kong, it's midnight now, but I'm very glad to see all of you here. I think we have around an hour to sort of casually discuss how we could together promote and expand our network around the world. And Tim, our president, is here. He's actually a mastermind behind all these great developments. So at some point, I think I would call on him to explain a bit more. I'm new to the council as vice president, but actually I left this council for some years. I've been with the council for some time, but things are really changing fast, especially with all these COVID and worldly development, and we're turning ourselves into a cyber space to meet. So a lot are changing, and we hope we are heading for something even better. So what I like to start with is that this gathering or this meeting of national representatives is really the first time that I know of since I've been with the council quite some time ago. I think we met very often in annual conferences face-to-face, but usually we do not have a meeting of representatives as such. So I see that Tim, especially over the past years, have been trying very hard to systematize the idea of national representatives. And I think all of us, basically all of us, have recently, past last year, signed an agreement called a national, let me see, it's called National Representative Agreement. I just read it again and see what actually has been written there. I think the document lays down very nicely what we hope this group of representatives could do, but it will take time to re-iron out all the details, how we could actually do all those things. And probably today is a very good time that we have feedback from all of us to see how we will move forward in the year ahead under the leadership of Tim. And of course, after that, I take over a bit, and I promise all of you that internationalization and globalization of WAPOR is really, really high on the agenda, because we have moved to such a stage that I think we are really looking at an international society, and we, all of us, especially in this profession, need to really think global and feel like a global family. So that's the line that we should be heading. I think in the remaining hour or so, I would of course hope that Tim would give it a little bit of briefing of how all the directions that we're heading for. But obviously, I think for us here, we probably want to know a bit more about each other, because you're working as a group. I know many of us are really new to this position, and at least are new to the agreement itself. So the concepts needs more ironing, the details ironing out. So I hope I would invite him to say a few words, guide the discussion. And I also like after that, perhaps round the table, a small introduction of yourself. And probably by that time, you could highlight some of the most burning concerns that you have. And then we move on some more structured discussions. We have some ideas in the past and also for the future. And we like to take this opportunity to iron them out bit by bit. So I hope we are all in agreement with this. So with that, can I invite Tim perhaps to say a few words about the background of this meeting?
Happy to do so. Thank you. When Marita Carvalho was president, we agreed to reinstitutionalize WAPOR's National Representative Program, and many of you were recruited in 2019 to sign on as part of our first we call first group of national representatives. And we've continued recruiting since that time. And as Robert mentioned earlier during the business meeting, we now have 66 national representatives, 66 countries and regions of the world represented formally within WAPOR's National Representatives Program, who serve as our eyes on the ground around the world to notify us when there are problems facing public opinion research and freedom to conduct public opinion research within your countries and regions. It's very, very important to us. And we're still recruiting. Ksenia, who I think is here. Ksenia, are you here right now? Actually, maybe she's not. But Ksenia and David Jodies have continued to expand our program, recruiting additional national representatives. And we'll be up to 70 countries and regions represented in the near future, we hope. And we're now trying to move forward at the next step to formally address issues of concern to members of this group. If there are issues in your countries that are of concern that we should be exploring or investigating, now is a good time to raise those issues, and we can discuss them collectively. This is a rare opportunity for us as a group to collectively discuss these issues and decide on courses of action. So that's where we are. And those of you that signed on as national representatives in 2020, your 2-year appointments are expiring at the end of this year, and you will be hearing from us in the near future with an invitation to extend for another 2-year term your service to WAPOR as a national representative. So be watching for those messages in the next several weeks.
Right, thanks, Tim. Maybe to kickstart the introduction or discussion, I would just read aloud the National Representative Agreement, which I believe most of us have signed, but it's actually a new idea, a new document introduced very recently. So with that, I would just sort of remind all of us that the expectation is all there, but obviously it takes time to iron it out. So when I sort of introduce all those concepts, so whoever, I would hope you would go around the table, but since we have many of us here, so whoever would like to raise an issue, do so. But when you speak, please say a little bit about yourself and your country. So yes, so I like to go to that very simple, neat and tidy agreement. And there are 6 kind of responsibilities listed in that agreement. You don't have to be very memorize all of them, but I would just say some of them are very general. Like the first one, it says that if you are a representative, then you will be listed in the WAPOR website. So it's all done. Okay, so it's a kind of a recognition, and we hope that will help you to other than being recognized and honored, also to tell your colleagues that you're part of the big family, and that is a bridge to something very, very important. So the first thing is simple enough. It's not your responsibility, it's really our responsibility to list it. So it's listed. And then the second point is a bit more tricky because I think it's there, but we haven't really started to implement it, because the idea was to ask all of you, all representatives, to give an annual report to WAPOR. And so what exactly should you be reporting in? We haven't quite done it yet. So today is a good time to say how, if there is a report, how should that be formulated and reported? But obviously, the annual conference like today, if we could meet in person, that would be even better. Then it would be an occasion for us to share the reports. If it is in a written form, then of course, when we meet or before we meet, we could share it first and discuss it. But I think it's more important not just to discuss those reports amongst ourselves as representatives, but share it with the membership in some form. So that's the second idea, that we are really hoping for regular annual reports from representatives. And then other than all these more structured and formal reports, you probably know that WAPOR issued newsletter in the past, printed format, and then it turns to be an e-format. And we now have a website. We can basically put up news bulletins very regularly. So if we have now 66 and we have 70, 80 countries represented, then everybody, when they have something to report, just tell the membership and use that platform to inform everybody. It'll be a very rich platform for us to really share the development. So that's the third point. So it's just something that you tell the world in terms of reports and bulletins and so on. Now the fourth should be simple, but we haven't been stressing it enough. It's not just that WAPOR listed all of us as national representatives. We will hope that you will also list WAPOR's website in your website. If it's an organization, then you add it there that you are a representative, and then there's a website to direct people to see us. And if you are just an individual and you hold your own website, then please just add it. So we take that as a wishful responsibility. We do not know how to implement it until all of us really agree to it. But that's the fourth point. The fifth and sixth, the fifth is, well, it's just a call that since you are the representative, you probably endorses all the basic values of WAPOR. And I always said, boil down to the core is really two values. It's the liberty and the quality of running opinion research around the world. So please encourage your colleagues, your teachers and your students to really consider joining us, participating in WAPOR activities as members, so that we hope to expand ourselves in that way. The sixth, and I take that to be pretty important too. You've heard us presented, and David has a session on the revised code of ethics, where in the Constitution it says members of WAPOR should comply with all these standards. Well, it is an individual membership issue. So being a member of WAPOR, already we should be complying with those standards. But as representatives, I think it's very important to really get ourselves familiar with all those codes and also revision and discussions. So you will be a model in your region, your country, to show people that once you comply with those standards, what does that mean? So that is very important in terms of upgrading the quality of the profession. And then as a benefit, there is also this agreement that is simple enough that being representative, you are acknowledged by WAPOR. And so in the website, we acknowledge it. And also, hopefully all the conferences, annual conferences, you will participate. And I think for this particular conference that we are now attending, we make special arrangements. If you do not want to join the conference for whatever reason, a time zone, busy or whatever, you can join this meeting, and there's a special link for that. So we make special arrangement that as representative, you really try to join and discuss with us face-to-face or now online. So that's it. And the third benefit, I think Tim will do it very soon, is to issue an annual certificate of appreciation. So that is obviously easy to be done, and we will do it. So that's the kind of formal agreement, and then listing out all the expectation and our wishes. So with that, I think I should open up for discussions on anything. If we have time, we will look forward to more concrete ideas, but now is the time for free flow discussion on whatever I've said or whatever you have in mind. But please, when you speak for the first time, just introduce a little bit about yourself, your country, anything. Okay, so who would like to have the first go?
Marta has her hand up.
Yes, please.
Hi, very nice to see you all, guys. A pity we cannot be face to face, but it's nice to be here anyway. Well, thank you very much for your comments. I would, I've been national representative, I think, for a lifetime. And it's certainly my turn to give it up and pass it to somebody else. And I think that, in order to make that task easier, it would be, I would think, necessary to have some sort of a document with goals where you can, have a guideline. Where are we heading? What are the objectives? What is it that we do? Other than looking at what happens in the world and seeing that, we don't get any bans on the polls, which we do. But other than that, there is the whole thing that I was talking about in my talk this morning about the profession itself. I mean, getting this group of people who think, who do this professional work to do something about the profession, like we do it at our congresses here today, So I would very much favor to have some sort of document where you could sort of, push forward and tell the guy who's going to, or the person who's going to, go on what he has to do.
Yes, that's exactly what we are trying very hard to do. So with the sort of agreement, national representative agreement, we're trying to pin down something. So Martha, since you are the representative of Chile, so you've been very experienced with it. I mean, being a representative. And now we have this document in front of you, LCC signed. If there's any very specific suggestions, please tell us. We are trying to our best to incorporate them.
Okay, yeah. I would say more than an agreement, I would say a guideline, something that you can also, I think the problem, we live in a very, very distrustful times, and people need solid institutional links. And so for that, you need sort of, I would say, documents that are universally accepted or whatever, a set of documents or one document on top of the agreement that will sort of give you background and saying, this is what I represent. You know what I mean? Because otherwise you don't have this sort of benchmark to hold on to. I mean, we do have the IJPOR, of course, that's a big institutional stronghold. But I don't know, it's just a thought. I think that, in this turmoil time we're living, it's important to have institutional backup.
It's certainly something that we can work on, Marta.
Yeah, I think it's useful. It would be useful for journalists, so that they don't think that standards are an opinion. I think that's the most destructing issue at all, that, when you say, hey, look at this organization, they have standards. And the answer is, well, no, they have an opinion. It's not a standard. I mean, what's the difference between an opinion and a standard? How do we distinguish it? And why is it a standard?
Marta, am I supposed to answer that question? It's a very good one.
Yeah,
No,
David,
yeah, I don't know. Oh, great. Who's speaking?
David.
David
Michael.
Jonas, the chair of
Yeah.
the Standards Committee.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's a fantastic question. I mean, I deal with it every day when I say, hey, this question, this survey is substandard. There's no way you can predict an election with that thing. And they say, who says it's in a standard? And well, why? Who? Where? You know? So beyond having a standard, you have to sort of prove yourself that it is a standard, which is, of course, tautological in itself. But, you know, if in this crazy world, people ask for that. So
And if
there's
we're
a
going to be-
question for you.
If we're going to be involved as an organization globally or in a specific country in evaluating polling controversies, we do need to have a standard of what we consider to be an acceptable opinion poll and what is not.
I don't think WAPOR should be involved in conflicts. I think it should be sort of above, like saying, hey, you guys, I mean, why don't you consider that we do this in so many countries and so many people, and it must be something worth. Let's get together and discuss it. This is something that you don't get here with journalists. No journalists come to any meetings to hear anything about polls because they don't want to accept, or they think they know enough.
Other colleagues, any feedbacks, views?
I think Michael's raised his hand.
Oh, I didn't see. Okay.
No problem. So hello, everybody. Since I'm new to this group, I take a few seconds to introduce myself. My name is Nietzsche. I'm based in Austria, in Vienna. Can you hear me well? I hope my internet connection is good enough.
Yes, you're good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm I'm the owner of Austrian Gallup Institute, and I'm vice president of Gallup International Association as well. And I have been national representative for WAPOR since the beginning of this year. And I had a plan, and this plan was kind of disturbed by some events recently. So when I started to be a national representative, I thought it would be good to do something about standards, about some quality criteria in opinion polling, because in my opinion, what is considered as a standard in Austria is still by far not good enough. Yeah, so that's my personal opinion, although I was involved in a lot of discussions within our country and within our national industry about standards for political opinion polling, especially so, but it's still not good enough. 2 weeks ago, we had a big scandal in Austria based on obviously or probably manipulated opinion polls. And this scandal led to that the prime minister, the chancellor of Austria, had to step back from his office, which you can imagine it's really a huge scandal. So there's a change in government. It turned out that the Conservative Party, which is the party of the prime minister, systematically manipulated opinion polls for their own purposes. So they ordered opinion polls with a small opinion polling company on behalf of the Conservative Party since at least 2017, as we know now. These opinion polls were then published by a big yellow press newspaper in Austria, in some kind of form, always in line with the strategy of the Conservative Party. And it turned out that all these opinion polls in the end were paid for by the Federal Ministry of Finance in Austria, so by the taxpayer. And also the newspaper who published the polls got loads of money via print ads from the from the Federal Ministry of Public Finance. Yeah? So you can imagine what all that means. And currently the federal prosecutors are examining the case. There is two ladies who are in opinion polling, quite well known, involved in the case. One of them, unfortunately, is the ex-owner of the Austrian Gallup Institute. I bought it in 2014 from her. And she is an ex-minister in Austria. So this made a lot of noise in the media and in the press. And we had to struggle to avoid some collateral damage first of all, for my institute, and second, for the whole industry. Unfortunately, there is an association of opinion polling in Austria called VDMI. It took them more than 10 days to react on the scandal, because in the beginning they said they don't want to say anything about it because nobody wants to be involved with manipulated polls, yeah, which is, as you can, which I think was the wrong approach to all that. In the end, they published some kind of statement in the media saying that, okay, these two are black sheep. They are not part of our national association. They don't follow the guidelines of the National Austrian Association for Political Opinion Polling. So these are the black sheep. The problem is that all the media and the journalists, many journalists now are commenting, so, hey, can we still trust any kind of opinion poll in this country? Should we continue to publish opinion polls, political opinion polls, or are they useless? Are they manipulated by political parties? And all these questions are being discussed in TV shows, in the media, etc. So it's in my opinion, it's really a huge damage for public opinion polling in total. Yeah, although it might turn out that these were just two black sheep, and so there's a case which is kind of a little bit difficult, because okay, two black sheep are manipulating something and the rest of the industry tries to do a proper job, yeah, but the damage is there. So I thought, what could I do as a national representative in such a case? And I was in contact with David, and in the beginning I thought it would be a good idea to get WAPOR involved. Since I watched the events over the last 10 days, and I'm not sure whether it's now the good moment to get WAPOR involved. First of all, for two reasons. Almost nobody knows WAPOR in Austria. I'm sorry for that. Yeah, so I will try to promote WAPOR in Austria. I'll do my best, but this will take some time. So it needs a lot of explanation. Who is WAPOR, how and why would WAPOR get involved in that case? Second, the newspaper, the Yellow Press newspaper, immediately after the scandal announced that their servers were hacked by some criminals, and a lot of data got lost. So, which means they tried to build a story that all these opinion polls, which were probably fake or manipulated, the data is lost. Yeah, so they're not here. They don't say that, but they are preparing an argument like this. Yeah, the lady who runs this opinion polling company, who provided the polls, she was arrested for 2 days and interviewed by the prosecutors. So there is a serious criminal threat that she will be sentenced for, first of all, manipulating invoices, and second, manipulating other things. The problem is we won't get access to any information from that side because this is under criminal investigation by the authorities at the moment. So I'm watching the situation. But what I decided to do, if you think that this is a good idea, what we did is two things. First of all, we have very good relations with the National Association of Journalists. This is a very old association in Austria, existing since 1859. And the main purpose of the association is to promote independent journalism. Yeah, so almost all journalists in Austria are member in this club. And we have very close relations, and I proposed to them, because there is a need to talk about that, and also there is a need for journalists to understand how can they know if an opinion poll is manipulated or not. How can they judge a good from a bad opinion poll? So we agreed that we might propose some kind of training sessions or workshops for journalists on how as a journalist, and I have to say, I know because I'm also teaching at the university, and I know that a lot of journalists don't even know how to calculate percentages. Yeah, so sorry for that. So that's not there. So they really don't have no idea how to judge what is a good poll and what is not, what is a bad poll. Yeah, but there is some need for training, and I think that would be a good idea. First of all, to promote what WAPOR is doing, yeah, and to promote the idea of WAPOR, and second, to help journalists understand what good opinion polling is about. Because when I talked, I think, to nearly 50 journalists in the last 2 weeks, because as you can imagine, a lot of people called me. Because kind of, yeah, it's the ex-owner of Gallup who was involved. So everybody called me. And I understood that, and I heard quite often that journalists told me, maybe it's better we don't publish any opinion polls anymore, or we don't even write about them. And I said, if you do that, you leave all those people out there in their social media bubbles, talking only to like-minded people, and they will never hear what is the public opinion on whatever subject. And every journalist immediately got the idea of the argument and said, "Oh yes, you're right." Yeah, so I said, "You as independent media, you're important for building public opinion. So you have to publish these polls, and you have to publish the right polls." So anyway, to make a long story short, there is a big disaster at the moment. I hope we will get out of this. It's a shame for my country. It's a shame for Austria. It's a shame for everybody. Yeah, the second thing which is important to know, I have heard via my Gallup International friends that in Greece, the opposition parties now want, based on the Austrian case, want to implement some kind of law which controls opinion polling, something like that. So there is a discussion about that going on in Greece. I tried to contact the national representative of Greece, but I couldn't catch her until now, because I'm curious to see what's going on there. And I think WAPOR should watch that, because that could be some collateral damage in some other country. I mean, it might be a political tactic at the moment, but we should watch that. So anyway, so that's, and the last thing is what I did is, and I hope I will have the results maybe tomorrow, we ran an opinion poll on opinion polling, a quick one, just to understand what people in this scandal, because the media are full about fake opinion polls now. We want to understand what people think about opinion polling and if it's important or not. So I might have the data tomorrow. So I hope this will help. It was a fast and quick online poll with a sample of 1,000 representatives for the population in Austria. Although I have to say there might be a slight bias because you're interviewing people in online access panels. But that's what I could do in the very short time now. Yeah, it will give us a first idea of the impact in the audience on that. Yeah, so thank you for listening. Sorry for taking so much of your time, but yeah.
Well, yes. Thanks, Michael, for telling us the situation of Austria and also Greece. And I think the council is aware of some of the problems, but we have been also discussing, especially for this meeting. It'd be nice to know what WAPOR members, and of course now country representatives, really expects or wants WAPOR to do. For education, public education, no problem about it. We've been spending a lot of time and effort throughout the years to really make the standards, revise the standards, make it very global and understandable to all members. But if we go into individual cases, country cases, complaints, whatever it is, WAPOR as a council, a group of council members, or even including all our representatives, might not be that educated to understand every case. And as Marita has reminded us, that if WAPOR is engaged in any kind of conflict resolution, then we'll have to prepare ourselves for a very long road on every case. So the question now, perhaps for all of us, is how much support, in a way, for individual members and countries do you really hope WAPOR to spend effort on? For education, no problem about it. For upgrading and upholding standards, no problem about it. And it seems to me that for cases, for information like what Michael has told us right now, if you have the WAPOR platform to inform, discuss with other WAPOR members, we have many WAPOR members around the world, then maybe as a collective of individuals, we could help each other. But as an organization, then it would be very difficult for us in the administration or the leadership position to really spend the time to go into every case, unless there's really a formal, very serious complaint to us, then we will try our best. I think we have been taking all these cases, not just cases from two countries. There are many individual cases from different countries, especially when it comes to us with sort of formal notification and request for help. WAPOR and the council has been very serious about it, but we are not quite sure, at least at this moment, how much we could do. But for paving the groundwork, we definitely see it as our responsibility to promote standards. I wonder if Tim has anything to add, and other colleagues here would like to respond or tell us your country's situation, or perhaps in a very general sense, how the WAPOR community should help each other with all these difficult cases. Tim, would you like to add something?
Sure, Robert.
Yeah.
Two quick comments, and then I'm actually very anxious to hear about experiences in other nations. But Michael, two thoughts. One, in terms of training journalists, I couldn't agree more. And we've actually talked about WAPOR putting together webinars on, public opinion polling 101 for journalists. The Pointer Institute actually has a fairly comprehensive training educational program for journalists that covers polling. And I've made a note to myself here. I'll put you in touch with those resources after the call. You may be able to take advantage of some of that immediately with folks in your country. And you mentioned the point about Greece. This has been an ongoing problem in Greece. I know that about 8 or 10 years ago, WAPOR actually issued a statement. There was a proposed piece of legislation back then in Greece that was suggesting putting some restrictions on pre-election polling. I think from what you're hearing, they've dusted off that proposal and are threatening to bring it up again. It was not approved last time, but it would be good to for us to get in touch with like you said, our national representative in Greece to explore this issue more carefully. I'll follow up with you on that point too.
Okay, thank you.
Other colleagues?
Hi, Robert. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi,
Hey,
thanks.
Shalom here.
Hi.
Hi. So a little bit about myself. I'm from Singapore, national representative for Singapore, and I'm pretty new to WAPOR. So I hear what Michael has said, and to some extent, I think that the ignorance of polling, what the numbers suggest, the validity, the reliability and validity of the figures, and those are the kind of knowledge that the media in particular, they need to have some basic understanding of that. And I agree that it's probably a good idea to have some kind of sharing, some kind of seminal, some kind of outreach. And I'm wondering if, in terms of the standards, I know, you could say it's a standard or you could say it's an opinion, but is it possible to package it in such a way that it's actually digestible, like the UN 17 Sustainable Developmental Goals? Something like that, where it's, easy to market. You can use that as a package and say that, okay, we've got an international seminar on understanding good polls, right? Something along the line. And I suppose we could have periodical, organized periodical, seminar, online seminars that can reach out to, and we as national representatives could reach out to our, in the context that we have in the media, to say that, well, guess what? This is an international standard, right? We're trying to build up something that will be a reflection of good standards in polling, right? And being the user of polls, right? Being the reporters of poll, how you could ensure that certain criteria, certain conditions, certain background of the survey can be reflected, right? When you report that, right? So if you do that, you could say that, well, this study has meet the standards expected in a good poll, as outlined in WAPOR. So I think perhaps that could be something we can explore, as a way forward. Thanks.
Well, thanks for the idea. Great idea. I think we have the standards there. We have just revised a little bit of that, but you are really talking about the application of it to make it understandable to the users, the journalists, and probably teachers. I think it's a good idea to really translate all these very technical professional standards into something really applicable, easily understood, and also important to different countries, because countries might face different problems. So I guess along this line, WAPOR really needs, I'm speaking for David, David is here also, that when we really go into the application of it, we have to work on a very regional, local level with every one of you, because once you know all the standards, every provision of it can create a problem and could be a problem in your country. So we might need examples and sometimes clarifications. And at the very serious level, we might need to amend the codes every few years. But I think most of the time, as you now know, that the standards are there. It seems to be pretty comprehensive and reasonable. But then not too many people outside our circle actually knows it. And when they do not know it, then sometimes we lose that kind of authority over them. If they could be like educated, taught through workshops, and of course through the work of representatives, know a lot more about it, then I think, well, it's not just a council as such, but every one of us who know all the basic ideas of the codes or the standards, we actually could help each other. Sometimes it's easy to explain some provisions with your own example in, say, in the chat room, and then suddenly everything brightens up. So yes, I think I take your idea very seriously. I'm quite sure that we will, after the standards are now fixed, we will try to find ways to really implement it. Thanks for the idea. Yeah. If you have more concrete ideas, we're most welcome. Actually, any one of you, if you really think of something, it's not just an idea telling us, but on the other hand, you think you could help us do a bit of promotion, perhaps in your country, then we're very happy to do it together. Actually, on this point, I'd like to bring up some very recent developments, actually of over the years, but you could see that we are now moving towards a multi-language platform. We're trying very hard to do it. So when Tim writes his president's letter, we try to make it as bilingual as possible, trilingual, multilingual. But that actually requires a lot of effort. So I just wonder that actually every one of us as representative, you might want to actually have all these important documents, important messages translated into your own language. If you could find a way to make it more structured, we'll be happy to move along that line. We perfectly know, I know that now we have a Google Translate, we have all those machine translation. It helps a little bit. It helps the translator as well. It's better to have something there translated by a machine than nothing. But still, when it is translated by a machine, we need to touch it up and we want to make it as professional as possible. So we need your input. So I just make an open call that if you think, let's start with the code. The code is there. Of course, the president's letter is always there. Let's start with the code. You could see the code now. It will be a dispatch very soon. If you think it should be translated into a language which you think should be translated, just tell us, but don't just tell us. Tell us that you could also help to translate into that kind of language. Then we try to organize something. Because that is one way to really spread our message around. That after translating it, we might want to adapt it to some simple packages, as you just mentioned, simple bullet points, but that should happen at the second level.
Yeah, I endorse that point. We would be very pleased to work with anybody to help translate particularly our code, which is going to be with us for a number of years moving forward, to get that translated into as many languages as possible that we can have available on our webpage. Historically, WAPOR has focused on English, Spanish, and French, and we obviously want to expand that considerably.
So perhaps other than making this call, may I just ask a very open question, because somehow we had this expectation of receiving annual reports from representatives. We just do not know how to get it started. So since all of us are here, probably we don't have an annual report this year. I don't know, but we could push for that. But if you're really thinking about annual conference next year, and say every one of us is going to produce a report, do you find it possible and according to what's written in the agreement? How would you think this task should best be achieved? Perhaps a one-page report telling every one of us how the situation of your profession is in your country, and if there's very special events like what's been happening in Austria, Greece, then do put it down, explain to us. And the report is not just a submission to the council, but will be shared in the conference, maybe through country representative presentation. We will group them into parallel session, parallel panels. But the important point is that that would be an occasion for us to really explain to everybody in the membership what's happening, what's important, and we have it documented. because once it's presented, I think everybody could take time to read it. So
Could
I
we
think that
have
was the
maybe-
idea. Yes,
Yeah,
please.
could we maybe have a space in the WAPOR's webpage where all these reports would be posted? So that if I want to know what's going on with, I don't know, any country, I can just pinch it and have a look at, you know, the last year's report. That would be interesting, you know.
That's a great idea, Marta.
If we do a sort of a, you know, a PowerPoint of no more than, I would say 5 slides, because it doesn't have to be, you know, a huge thing, which with a very short summary of what's going on. You know, if I want to know what's going on in Austria, I just go and pinch Austria and that's it. And you have a sort of a live thing there, you know, that would be
Yeah.
great. That would be very useful.
It's perfect. Well, with that
And
idea,
that would,
actually,
that would also
yes,
be
please.
useful for the amazing amount of, because polls are being wrong now, there's lots of journalists and sociologists and psychologists who are doing, you know, either work for the university or thesis or something, writing something on polls. And that would be a place where it would be natural to, if you're a member of WAPOR, to be able to go and see, if you, you know, research what's going on in the rest of the world, and you work, you know, you could use all that information for papers at universities. That would be a boost for the, you know, for the subject as it is.
That's one.
I think we should create a web form of sort within the login, just like Martha said, because country report should not be something which can be updated only once in a year. You know, I mean, obviously, suppose if I have prepared something for last year for India, for example, all that information should be there. If I want to update something at any point of time in the entire calendar year, I should be able to update that then and there, not at the fag end of the year. So it should be kind of a live thing for each country representative to be in a position to log in and update the information as and when it's required, or it deems fit, or it's available. So so if the Austrian colleague wants to report or update the information right now, let him do it right now, rather than waiting for the year to complete and then come up with a report. That's what. So it should be more of a live web form for all the country representatives to look into the information that has been given by him or her, or the previous national representative. They can update it. They can do it as and when something happens in their country. It should be live.
Yes. Well, in light of time, I think I'd like to ask this question, since we are really hitting something very important, but actually it won't be, I hope, spending too much of your time and effort. Could we actually make the first report before the end of this year? So if it's 5-slide bullet points, and then perhaps turn it into pages, very simple. And with a group of us here, I think we could just write something and then see if we could upload it by the end of, well, perhaps we could say this is the annual report for 2021. So we upload it at the beginning of next year and see how it goes.
Sounds like a great plan, Robert. I've been following the discussion on the chat here, and there's a lot of interest in having a template for those reports. Maybe we could work together on a prototype example to share with everybody.
Yeah. So let's do it. At least we achieved something for this meeting, and I'm sure we will run into more ideas when we meet more of our colleagues who is not able to attend today. And getting the say simple report ready before the end of this year is one step forward, and then we move further to see how we make it more structured, and we use our annual conferences to make an issue out of what we write in future. So would that be acceptable to all of us here? Just say yeah.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea, and maybe
Okay.
maybe what one could include, a small part of that template to
Mm,
what's going on with respect to polls in social media. I mean, is it a favorite evolution appraisal? Is it negative? I mean, what can we do again, to make the image of our instrument, our profession better than if it is being attacked, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's also a relevant indicator.
So just that we conclude our first ever meeting of national representative with these yes,
Robert?
Tim, please. Yeah.
Robert, what were, Anna had her hand up a minute ago and wanted to give her an opportunity to say something real quick.
Thank you
Yes,
so
please.
much, team. Hello, everybody. I'm Ana Lucia from Quito, Ecuador. This is the first time I think we have a representative from Ecuador, so I'm very happy about this. I just wanted to tell you that I'm the chair of the scientific committee of Big Surf. I don't know if you know about this initiative, Big Data Meets Survey Science. WAPOR was already a sponsor for one of the conferences. The next conference is going to be in Quito in 2023. So I'm hoping that WAPOR will have a very strong presence in that initiative in the conference. I will be in touch, but I just wanted to let you know and show myself here.
Great.
That's it. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you. We look forward to that. So Tim, do you have any final words before we close?
Just to thank you, Robert, for leading this group, and to everybody for attending today. A number of really good ideas that we will be following up on.
Okay, so have a good day ahead, and it's really midnight, way after midnight in Hong Kong. So see you tomorrow. Okay.
Take care.
Take care,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.